Now, as we know, recently the absolute parasites known as payment processors removed a lot of content from Steam. They removed a lot of content also from itch.io. And yes, while all of this content was more or less incel games and very NSFW, it was not illegal. And that's what everybody, is mad about. But everybody has heard the story. Everybody knows about the situation. But there has been a development which I find to be incredibly intriguing, which I think really shed some light on the situation because Visa responded. They took, their little email app and they wrote a little response, and here we are about to read that response. Now, one of as I understand, the first statement is from Visa. As a global company, we follow the laws and regulations everywhere we do business. While we explicitly prohibit illegal activity on our network, we are equally committed to protecting legal commerce. If a transaction is legal, our policy is to process the transaction. We do not make moral judgments on legal purchases made by consumers. Now, if reading this, I am like, okay, this company is a good company. They know exactly what they're talking about. But just you hold on, just you hold on a little bit. The next statement, however, Visa does not moderate content sold by merchants, nor do we have visibility into the specific goods or services sold when we process a transaction. When a legally operating merchant faces an elevated risk of illegal activity, we require enhanced safeguards for the bank supporting those merchants. And that's the T. That is the little itty bitty. It's like, you know, we're doing everything by the book, but we're not. It's very it's also so non-descriptive. I'm just gonna start nitpicking at this and dissecting it to kind of explain what this means. Now, the first statement is the legal part of the statement. It's like we follow laws. We're not gonna remove any content that's illegal. But the second statement is like, although a lot of content, may not be illegal, but it may have a risk of being illegal. So we're just gonna take it down just to be on the safe side. It's kind of what they're saying, right? It's like an elevated risk of illegal activity. It's very non-descriptive because like what does it mean? Like what do you mean illegal? uh Elevated risk of illegal activity, like what does that even like entice? Like what is considered to be what elevates the risk of being illegal? Like what are you even talking about? Like these are video games. Like what did you think? Steam has fucking things to prevent illegal shit. They have their own rules. However, basically this statement kind of puts forth that the games they removed, all of them had an elevated risk of being illegal. Now that screams to me at some point they're gonna be like, okay, let's check these games and then let's reinstate them, which I hope they do, because by their own saying, what they said basically is that they cannot remove anything that is not illegal. Their only kind of like weapon tool to remove things is based on like their own concern, which is very non-descriptive. It gives them the ability to remove damn near anything just because they kind of think like, oh, elevated, oh, there's the human, well, that human, he may take his pants off at some point, and somehow that's going to cause a virus. Elevated risk, that's it. Gone, goodbye, see you next time. After 2 months of appeals and discussion, you may get your game back, but as of now, goodbye. Which is it's crazy, but it's not as bad as I thought it was, because at least their own rules say that we cannot remove content that is legal. So I hope that this kind of stops here, right here and then, and that these games will be kind of reinstated into the store, primarily because you can like assess if it's illegal or not. Like, okay, if it is an elevated risk somehow, you can easily just take it down from the store, analyze the game, scan it, filter it, and then determine whether or not it is legal or illegal, and reinstate it. Otherwise, if they can just permanently remove it based on like a suspicion, that means that they can like permanently remove any game from the Steam store based, as I said, like, oh, there's a human in there. Well, something might happen. Which it's really interesting, but I think that seeing all of the backlash that's been happening been thrown at them, because I see they are getting emails, they're getting calls, the payment processors. I mean, because like everybody is pissed, like because nobody is pissed about these like very weird incel games. Like nobody cares about these games. Problem is that this, as I said in my last video, shows that these payment processors have the ability to control content and remove things they deem not to fit their ideology, right? Because every company, every group really has a certain ideology. Like you can just observe, like any specific group will have some sort of, you know, kind of like apparatus that is accepted, like ideas that are accepted, sayings that are accepted and sayings that are not accepted. It's like it doesn't matter if it's a friend group, if it's like a community, like Discord community, it doesn't matter. Like any group has something like that. Even companies especially, right? And these this community collective shout force the use these payment processors to remove these games, basically exploiting the payment processors with like a saying like, oh, if you don't remove these games, you're gonna get under a lot of backlash, and you're gonna lose revenue, because at the end of the day, all of these all these companies really care about is money. And if somebody says, okay, if you don't do this, you're gonna lose a lot of money, guess what, that company is just gonna do it. So I think now, with all the people like really throwing backlash and being mad at these payment processors and looking at things like crypto and other solutions because they don't trust the payment processors, that obviously means that these payment processors are going to eventually probably lose some money. So I think the best thing for them to do is to completely just stop interfering and reinstate all of these games, and be like, whoops, we messed up, goodbye, just keep using us, but don't, you're not going to hear from us again unless you're uploading as something actually illegal, right? But based on their like actual statement, I feel much better about this whole situation. So that's kind of that. I'm really glad that they at least responded, that Visa responded, and their response, while they did have that stupid, we followed the law, but then the if it if it's a elevated threat, then but at least their core like law is that we do only ban it and remove it, and do not offer our payments, our service, if it's actually illegal, which is totally fine, because the law is the law. Like you can try and appeal it and stuff like that, but the law is the law. So yeah. So in my opinion, it's not as bad as we thought. It's still pretty bad, but I think that these games are going to be reinstated, because like I looked online, everybody, like a lot of people are, sending emails, calling these companies and being like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Please, like, not even please, like sending very strongly worded letters. And, these companies really, in my opinion, every company cares about, public reputation, public relations. They even have like a whole, PR thing. So I think when the public starts going after you and starts being like, when the gaming community, which is massive, just incredibly massive and powerful, because gamers are not only just gamers, they are also people who know how to use computers. So when the computer community, which is the thing that the whole world works on, starts going after you and starts being like, what the fuck are you doing? Then I think the companies start to maybe reconsider kind of what they're doing, right? They start to be like, okay, hey, Yo, maybe this little group of Karens collective shout isn't who our company should be listening to. Maybe it's just a very small percentage who just screams very loudly. Because in my opinion, that's exactly what these Karen communities like collective shout do. Is they're very small, but they scream so loudly, and the people just hear them and they think like they're important in any way when really they're not at all important. Like, what the fuck even is like, what like these is some random ass people doing a random ass nonsense that nobody needs and doesn't bring any, benefit to humanity as all. Now, Steam also responded to the policy changes, and I'll read that right now. Basically, Steam says, or rather Valve, we were recently notified that certain games on Steam may violate the rules and standards set forth by our payment processors and their related card networks and banks. As a result, we are retiring those games from being sold on Steam Store because loss of payment methods would prevent customers from being able to purchase other titles and game content on Steam. We are directly notifying developers of these games and issuing app credits should they have another game they'd like to distribute on Steam in the future. So basically, just kind of what happened, right? But yeah. So that's kind of the situation. Visa responds, we get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I think personally the way this is gonna end is that basically they're gonna just be like, okay, here are your games back because they actually aren't illegal, because like if a game is illegal, then yeah, then I totally agree. Then we have a problem. Then we need to do something. But a lot of these games, they were not. None of them were actually, I believe, illegal. So that's just something that they did that I think they will, stop doing. So yeah, so that's kind of that. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Live long and prosper. I also subscribe because I checked my analytics and god damn it, literally nobody is subscribed to my fucking channel. Like actually like 100% of you aren't subscribed. So please hit that subscribe button. I really need those subs. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Live long and prosper. Goodbye.